Welcome back to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and in today's video, we are taking a trip to Tatooine. What are we doing there? Well, we're going to be visiting our favorite Star Wars bounty hunter turned crime overlord towards guy who runs a gang of scooter bike dudes. It's a weird thing, but yeah, today we're going to be talking about this gentle giant mini bust here of Boba Fett. And this is the Mos Espa version, based on the Book of Boba Fett series that's available on Disney+. This 1/6 scale resin mini bust is limited to only 3,000 pieces, but is it worth adding to your collection? Well, let's go ahead and find out. First things first though, let's talk about the packaging real quickly here, and gentle giant pieces are typically not packaged in the same way that Diamond Select pieces are. And when I say that, I mean there's no windows or anything in there, and the reason being that you can't take a look inside of this piece is because it is encapsulated. It is frozen in carbonite practically like Han Solo was. It is covered in styrofoam. There's styrofoam that's all around this thing here that you're going to see once you open this thing up probably, and that is how you protect this guy here. That's how you keep it from getting broken when it gets shook around by idiots like me. So yeah, that's the reason why you can't really take a peek inside this thing any other way until you get it home. Luckily for you, I'm here today to show you those insides, but we'll get to that in one more minute here. But yeah, again, besides the packaging, just more pictures, more images of what the statue is going to look like, as well as a very simple, very basic Star Wars logo. Now, the back of the packaging here has a nice picture of the statue again, and a very short, concise, but really good bio about Boba Fett here. And while it doesn't completely contextualize when this is supposed to be from, it does give you enough information to kind of get you, a little bit of a full bio, as well as bring you kind of up to date on what's going on in the world of Boba Fett. I say concise because it is very, very short, and it's kind of an impressively truncated bio about the character here, but I actually like it in this case. A lot of times I'll be nitpicky about the bios. Generally speaking, the resin pieces don't have big bios on them, not a ton of information, but you know what, honestly, I mean, this thing is called the Mos Espa version. You can kind of see what version of Boba this is, so not really bugging me too much. Although one thing that does kind of bug me is for whatever reason, these pieces from Gentle Giant typically don't list the sculptors on them. Kind of wish they would do that. So I'm guessing maybe it's just because it might be a team effort perhaps, and it's everybody at Gentle Giant working on this piece, but I wouldn't mind some more credits for this. But that's kind of just nitpicky, but really none of that stuff matters right now, because what we want to do is get this Boba Fett out of the packaging and take a closer look at this bounty hunter from all angles. All right, here's our Boba Fett now out of the packaging. So I'm going to give you guys a quick rotation while I give you my initial thoughts about him here. And I will admit that I was a little skeptical about this piece when I first got it. I grew up as a big Star Wars fan. I had a Star Wars bar mitzvah, for crying out loud. So Boba Fett's a pretty important character to me. I love Boba Fett. And seeing him in the new series, I still have mixed feelings about it. I don't really know if I like what they did with the character ultimately. But I was excited at the prospects of all sorts of new merchandise. And I have to tell you, looking at this statue right here, I'm surprised how much I really like this piece. Like, there's a lot of good Boba Fett merchandise out there, and Boba Fett's such a toyetic type of character. It's not really that hard to make a good piece of Boba Fett merchandise, but they did something real special with this one. I'm really digging it, and I'm kind of bothered by how much I actually do like it. So let us talk about some of the different things I'm really enjoying about it. But before I do that, I do want to mention that this is, again, a limited edition piece, and once you open up your packaging, you do get this nice little trading card here. Not quite a trading card, but this is basically kind of like your equivalent of a COA. And on the back, it lists what number you have, so that's mine. If you ever see it out in the wild, you know where it came from. So yeah, that's what this is, and additionally, if you lose that card, though you really shouldn't, you do have the same information on the bottom of his base there. So you make sure you get those numbers in 3 different places, because it's also on the packaging as well. So let's just start with this guy, and I think I want to start with the head. I was going to say likeness, but there's not really a likeness. There's no face to Boba Fett, at least not like this anyway, without his helmet on. But, again, we'll do a nice little rotation here so you can see all the detail. This is a great version of Boba Fett and his armor. I really like the colors here. I think that's really what kind of sets it for me, is like just the sheer amount of color that's on this character and how nicely done it is. I love the weathering that's on his helmet. You can kind of see some little specks here and there, because this is a battle damaged helmet. It's seen some combat. Behind, of course, is not as interesting. But as we continue to rotate, you'll see what I mean. Like, really wonderful paint job. They got the palette correct for Boba Fett, and this is kind of a dark, grimy looking version of the Mandalorian armor here. Nice little splotches of the red over here. It's really nicely done. Like, this screams Boba Fett. It's such an iconic looking helmet, too. I mean, they couldn't get that wrong, and I'm glad that they didn't. But this is kind of just Boba Fett perfection right here. And I also like some of the body language of the piece here too, especially with his head. He's kind of looking down. He's not looking straight at you necessarily, but then again with Boba Fett, you can never really tell where he's looking. And that's kind of the magic of this character. He's so mysterious, but yeah, his head is kind of pointed down, but at least his helmet is where his eyes are looking. It's probably straight at you. So that's really cool. And I do admit also I like this sort of reflective black that's being used here for the visor part. That's excellent too. So let's scan down a little bit and just take a look at some other parts here. So, a really cool part, of course, is his blaster. That's his iconic Boba Fett blaster, and they nailed that one as well. Great detail. Love the use of the sort of gunmetal silver weathering that they've done with this piece as well. The wooden stock, very nice too. We got the classic scope on top of it. What a strange but really cool looking piece. Of course, we can't forget as well his different wrist attachments here with his little rocket launchers on that side, I believe. Or I think that might be, sorry, that's the flamethrower side. This is the rocket launcher side over there, you can see. But you even got the rockets in there. All the detail is there. Looking very, very beautiful, very deadly. Talking about detail too, we can talk about these wires that are running through his pack, mind you, through his outfit to give you, I guess, the propane tanks perhaps. I don't know what they used in the galaxy a long time ago, far, far away, but you got all the detail here, really nice hoses. You also have this little half a pistol down. If you go even further down there, you'll see you got a little bit of a pistol there, as well as some shells of ammunition, I guess, that's there with his belt too. Just a great amount of detail. All the little elements that make Boba Fett who he is are there. And if we scan up a little bit too, we'll go back seeing some of his, let's talk about his profile now. You can see we've got his really nice bright yellow shoulder pads, which also, again, have some excellent weathering detail on them. And it's not just like one tone. There's like little cracks of white and the silver on it. So they're really putting a lot of detail into this one. Likewise, we even have his little insignia, his crest that's on his chest over there. Nice, very nicely added decal. I feel like I've talked a lot without even mentioning his antenna, which no, it does not articulate, but thank God it doesn't. That's going to be the one part you have to definitely be careful about with this statue, because this will be the part that would break off if it fell down. So definitely do your best to not drop it. Yeah, so that's really my only advice to you about that. As I turn it around, let's take a look at this jetpack too, the rocket launcher jetpack. Man, now that's a beauty right there. That's the toy that caused so much outrage when it first came out. But yeah, there's our jetpack. Again, just excellent detail, really great paint job on this. This is such a good piece. Yeah, just looking at this gives me all these nostalgic memories too. They really got this character right. They got the statue down perfect. All the elements are just precise as well. You can just see all the different little details in the pack here, from the rocket itself to even the bottom of it. There's so much going on here with this piece. It's Boba Fett perfection, it really is. And, again, keep in mind this is now the older version of Boba Fett. This is Old Man Fett. So there are some differences to how we saw him, let's say in Return of the Jedi. And the biggest difference really is the black outfit that he's wearing. So, that's what I kind of was not so into necessarily at first. When I first saw this piece and I saw that it had this black outfit, I was like, oh cool, it's Old Man Fett. That's fun, but I don't really know if I want that version. But I'm actually really, really liking that color choice. It really helps everything else kind of pop out a little bit more. The belt also is, I think, probably a little bit different from what we originally saw him in Return of the Jedi. It's been a long time since I've seen it, and I've really paid attention to his belt. Got a nice belt buckle he has there too. I didn't think I was going to like the black, but it really looks good with all the colors going on here, especially with the different pops of the crimsons in his gauntlets, his shoulder pauldrons, all the different colors here. The black really helps. And it's not just a flattening out black either. This is kind of a reflective black in some ways. It's not let's say, the recently released Baroness piece that Diamond Select did, but you do have just, it's a very deep dark tone, but it still has some nuance in it, which I like. Oh man, yeah, this is really cool. And we should mention too, normally I spend some time talking about the bases in these pieces, but there's not really much to talk about here. This is just a hockey puck base. That's kind of what I call these things. At least you got some little rubber stoppers on the bottom so that you don't damage or scratch this piece up too much. But, otherwise, there's absolutely nothing interesting to talk about with that base. So, I guess we'll just gloss right over that. But really, all the action here is going to be with the statue itself anyway. So that's fine. Boba Fett is the centerpiece here. The base isn't as important, but yes, I would have, of course, liked to have a little more stuff going on in the base, but it is what it is. So I can't really think of anything to nitpick about. I'm not really seeing any little, bad paint splotches here. They spent a lot of time and a lot of effort getting this guy right, and it shows. Everything that they did here is working. It's absolutely working. The amount of detail, man, the Gentle Giant Star Wars stuff is always great. It's always amazing to look at. And this is a perfect example of this. This might be one of their best mini busts that they've done. from the amount of paint detail, the weathering effects that's on him. I mean, it's a lot of subtle storytelling, and it is a bust, keep in mind. So busts, they're not like statues that you get from like for example, the resin, I keep going back to the diamond pieces, the diamond PVC pieces. Those are more typically action-packed. These resin pieces tend to be a lot more static in the poses that they're presenting here. But I don't really see a problem with that in the case of Boba Fett. I mean, he's still telling you a lot about who he is with his gun drawn, visor looking ready for, for some action. It's a cool piece. It's very serious, gritty kind of piece, and that's what I like about it. And I think you're going to like this piece too. So I definitely give this one a high recommend. I can't believe how much I honestly like this one. I was a little worried since the new shows I wasn't as into, at least the new Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, I wasn't really a fan of as much. But this is doing it for me. This piece is doing it for me as a longtime Star Wars lover. And I know, yeah, I do a lot of Star Trek on this channel, but my heart initially began in sci-fi with Star Wars. So I'm always going to have a special place for Boba Fett, and this piece is a great way to celebrate that. Now, if you'd like to pick up this Boba Fett for your collection, go ahead and check out my Amazon affiliate links in the description below. If you pick up this or anything else from Amazon using that link, it helps support this YouTube channel at no extra cost to you. So one more time, that's our Mos Espa Boba Fett 1/6 scale mini bust, limited to 3,000 pieces, coming to us from Gentle Giant. Pick them up today while supplies last. So until next time, I'm Matthew. This has been Nerd News Today, and we'll see you guys in a time long, long ago in a galaxy maybe not so far away.